A warm welcome, and I'm audible, Doctor, clearly?
Yes.
Okay. A very good afternoon to respected chairpersons, senior teachers, colleagues, and my dear students. The mind that opens to a new idea never returns to its original size. I am definite this PG convention shall go a long way in making the minds, nurturing the minds, and sharing knowledge. I thank Dr. Narendra Patia, Dr. Gaurav Pal Singh, and Dr. Pragati Korani for giving me this opportunity on this platform. And what I've witnessed till now, this convention is going to be a memorable one, first of its kind, the first virtual PG convention. And this is going to be a milestone. Congratulations to all of you. My heartfelt gratitude to my inspiration and my mentor, Dr. Mahesh Sharma sir, and maybe the reason why I chose prosthodontics as a specialty until today, sir, never ceases to amaze me. My institute, where I have been working more than 20 years now, National Dental College, is in Punjab. So challenges in mandibular implant overdenture therapy. Challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them makes it more meaningful. And this is and COVID pandemic has really shown that when we are being challenged, we have got to know of our resiliency and how to overcome them with our inner strength. As the world population is increasing day by day and is projected to be around 9.7 billion by 2050, the life expectancy is also increasing. And in India, it's around 369 years and 4 months, more being in the females. And it's predicted that if we compare with 2000, the population of more than 60 years is going to increase by 87% till 2025. Edentulous rate is decreasing every decade, but the elderly population is also rising. The total average edentulous rate around the world is 20% of the adult population by age 25. Until last year, adult population in need of 1 or 2 complete dentures was around 38 million. Complete edentism affects the patient, and it is beautifully seen by a painting by Leonardo da Vinci, which shows the effect on the facial contours after the tooth loss. There's a continued bone loss of the jaw, so many soft tissue changes, aesthetic changes, decrease in the masticatory efficiency, negative diet effects because of the decreased occlusal force, instability of mostly the mandibular denture, and the psychological issues. The effect of complete edenturism, which happens after the tooth loss, first it was noticed that the bone loss in 1922 by Julius Schmidt, when he demonstrated on a skeletal structure of a 90-year-old woman that the amount of bone loss which was seen. And we have studied this Edwards classification, which is showing the different stages, and from the stage 4 to stage 6 is so much reduction in the height of the residual ridge is seen. A patient needs to know that when we give removable denture, a denture replaces more bone than the teeth to restore the facial dimension. If we consider a dentate mandible, then with the edentulous, we see the amount of vertical bone loss, it may be in centimeter. So information has to be given that either relining or refabrication has to be done after a few years so as to compensate for the atrophy of the bone which is being taking place. And this is because we all know the Wolff's law. When the force is not there, the functional stimulus, so the external architecture and the internal trabecular pattern is going to be affected. And maybe the mandible is the most in whole body where the bone volume is affected because of the lack of the function which is there when a patient undergoes tooth loss. We treat most of the patient with complete denture, especially the masses who are unable to maybe afford a very high-end treatment planning. And we, as well as the public, are aware of the problems associated with complete mandibular denture than any other dental prosthesis. A study done in 1991 by Mission 104 denture wearers, they said that 63.5% they had mandibular discomfort and movement, and 17% of the patients claimed that they were able to masticate more effectively without the prosthesis. A recent study in JADA says a clinically stable mandibular denture was the most important determinant of patients' satisfaction. So maybe this is the reason. Patients are also aware, we are aware, number of situations, mandibular conventional complete denture is the problem. So why mandibular implant supported overdenture? It enhances support, retention, stability. Patients are also willing to accept this treatment plan. Greater flexibility in implant position or prosthesis fabrication, and a person entering into implantology like the PG students here is an ideal treatment modality to begin an early learning curve. Carlson in 2014, he said, true implant overdenture gives better outcome regarding satisfaction, chewing ability, and oral health related quality of life. So, though the patients, if they have a very good bone quality and also the cost is not an issue, we can give mandibular implant denture. But what are the clinical situations where a patient is really going to benefit from the implant-supported overdenture? Patients with unfavorable floor of mouth contours and retracted composition because the lingual flange, the extension is limited, and this will affect the stability and the support. So with the implant-supported overdenture, retention and stability by the implants, we can get anterior support by the implants and posteriorly by the barclay shelf and the retromolar pad. And this is better if they have a wide zone of keratinized attached mucosa, because this is going to maintain the health of peri-implant tissues. The patients with pure neuromuscular control, as here the denture is effectively retained in position with the implants, and they can focus their attention exclusively on the manipulation of the food bolus. Replacement for fixed as the patient's age and experience difficulty in manipulating hygiene aid. With implant-supported fixed prosthesis, hygiene is more meticulous hygiene is required, and if it is not there, it can lead to implant failure. Other group, the patients with exposure of inferior alveolar nerve because of continuous bone loss, so we are unable to place the implants in the posterior region. So anterior implant placement followed by implant-supported overdenture is again a good option. So regardless of clinical situation, bone density or patient desire, because of the which are issues there with the mandibular arch, mandibular supported implant denture should be a minimum standard of care for most of the patients. Is there an upper age limit for implant therapy in especially geriatric freedom? ITA consensus shares that implant therapy can be done irrespective of the age. Implant and prosthesis maintenance must be assured by the patient and the dentist. We know a number of factors where implant overdenture has an edge over the fixed, but what are the conditions which help us decide whether we should go for removable or fixed? One, when a patient aesthetics is unable, we are unable to achieve the aesthetic because some conditions require a properly contoured and extended flange. Like of this fixed hybrid prosthesis, the lips is not properly supported, so the patient facial aesthetics is affected. Quality of soft tissue, a little or poor amount of attached keratinized mucosa, whether it is fixed or removable. Good keratinized attached mucosa is required, but if it is not possible and the tissue implant is going to be surrounded by a poor quality of the keratinized tissue, it's always better to have a removable because then the excess at least is there to maintain the health of the mucosa. Oral compliance difficulties, especially the patients as they age, impaired vision or the manual dexterity, it is less. They are unable to maintain the hygiene. So the chances of chronic periodontal implantitis under the fixed restoration may be leading to implant failure. Go for removable in such cases. Combination of plaque and poor quality peri-implant tissue, hypertrophy of peri-implant which is not unresolving, again, removable is a very good option. Both edentulous arches, so mandibular implant overdenture and a maxillary complete denture. This is a very cost-effective, predictable, favorable patient acceptance and a simple treatment protocol which can be done in most of the patients. Based on the patient-related outcome measures, the decision whether to rehabilitate a patient with fixed or removable implant prosthesis should be guided by the specific anatomy, clinical parameters, as well as patient's needs and wishes. In cases in which either is feasible, proper assessment of patient's expectations and desires before treatment is critical prior to deciding between fixed or removable prosthesis.
Sorry to interrupt you.
The success of any implant prosthesis will depend upon the host of factors that change for each patient. But if we compare it with traditional method of conventional complete denture, it definitely gives increased longevity, improved function, bone preservation, and a better psychological results. When a patient is dentulous, the maximum bite force is around 150 to 250, and it can increase very fold in parafunction. Once he is dentulous and rehabilitated with the conventional denture, it falls to as low as 50 psi, and a long-term denture where it is very low, 6 psi. A study done by Wish in 2008 says if we give a implant-supported fixed prosthesis, we can increase the maximum bite force by 85% within 2 months. And after 3 years, the mean force may reach more than 300%. So number of reasons it is better, just theoretical, all advantages we all know. Few parameters I would like to focus on, which are very, very important. One, bone loss. With a conventional denture, in the first year, it's almost a 4 millimeter of vertical bone loss, and subsequent year it decreases, but it is 4 times more in mandible. Whereas implant over denture, the long-term resorption is less than 0.1 mm per year. Conventional dentures move around 10 mm during function, so under lateral forces, more of the horizontal movement, resulting in soft tissue abrasions, accelerated bone loss. Whereas implant over denture limits the lateral movement, provides stability, so patient is able to produce a determined centric occlusion. During strokes are 1.5 to 3.6 times more in conventional denture, and implant over denture, the efficiency improves by 20%, and maximum occlusion force may increase by 300%. Another important factor, which is improved occlusal awareness. Because of the tooth loss, there is loss of proprioception. So the awareness, occlusal awareness is very less in conventional dentures. When we give implant-supported prosthesis, there is much improvement, and the patient functions in a more consistent range of occlusion. If we want to do a successful implant-supported prosthesis, number of things we have to take care of before that restoration is successful. Apart from all these factors, there are certain issues of concern. One, CV resorption. If the vertical height is less than 7 mm or buccolingual less than 5, then these type of mandible, because of less amount of bone, at risk of fracture during or immediately after implant placement. Lack of keratinized ash tissue. Again, high PG is going to be compromised. When the implants will be sounded, the peri-implant tissue is poorly keratinized because lack of interocclusal space is going to limit the design choices and compromise prosthodontic procedure. This is commonly seen in recently dentulated position. Patients or the patients in which there was residual anterior dentation either in the maxilla or in the mandible. Number of challenges, number of issues. But I'm always doing that which I cannot do in order that I may learn how to do it. So let's see how to overcome these challenges. Now, there are certain treatment philosophies for mandibular implant supported over denture. So we can plan the implants, place them in specific sites, number and predetermined. If your procedure we have done very well, these abutments are healthy, rigid, and will provide excellent support system. So it means benefits and risk both are predetermined. Then why? Why is it still challenging? Because we attempt to restore all patient conditions with the same over-denture approach with limited implant number and individual implants, because this is perceived as the easiest treatment option, and also it may be associated with low cost. And this is the reason it leads to an increase in complications. At the time of initial diagnosis, it's very important to determine the type of prosthesis support and the range of motion that will be there in the prosthesis. So predetermine the retention, support, and stability required for the restoration, retention from the number and type of attachments, support from implant number and bar design if you're giving a bar type of attachment, and stability from implant and bar position. Wish also said 5 treatment options. And we'll be just discussing that in later part of the presentation. And when he followed that, he said on 147 in mandibular overdentures, over a 7-year period, there was less than 1% implant failure. And this same protocol done by Klein et al. In 2002 again shows the prosthesis survival rate of 100% and the implant survival rate of 99.6%. What is this protocol? This is 2 to 5 anterior implants. So there are two, the options are RP5 and RP4. RP5, 4 options are available. The support is anteriorly by the implants and posteriorly by the soft tissue, and the different options have different range of retention stability support. RP4 is completely implant supported with a rigid cantilever bar, which will additionally give the stability and the retention. So first determine the requirement, that is what support, stability, and the retention is required, and this will depend upon anatomical conditions of the patient, force factors, any habit, any parafunction is it there, the cost, patient complaints, and the desire. Most of the time, the main lacuna is we feel the overdenture because it's removable, maybe it requires less support. But if the attachments that you have given, they do not allow the overdenture to move, that will make it behave as a fixed restoration, and that is why it should be supported by implants in number, position, and design similar to a fixed restoration. Coming to this aspect, which plays a very important role, prosthesis movement. Overdenture, though it is removable, but in function or parafunction, it shows different range of motion from 0 to 6. And there is attachment movement. Both of them are independent from each other, but the most important movement is the prosthesis movement. So determine the amount of prosthesis movement which the patient desires, can adapt to, or anatomy can tolerate. And for this, there are two important dimensions. One is from the occlusal plane to the height of attachment of the attachment, and second is from the height of the attachment to the bone. Individual attachments have greater crown height above the attachment level. So any lateral force will magnify it, and that is the reason if it is a greater, that is a danger to the length is more, that it is going to be unstable. So whenever possible, the rotation of the prosthesis should be as far from the bone. So try to connect the implants by a bar and then place the attachment. So this will decrease the distance between the occlusal plane to the height of attachment. But 3 mm of acrylic space should be there to decrease the prosthesis fracture. The other distance is from the attachment to the bone height. Greater is the distance, greater will be the force to the marginal bone, screw, and implant bone interface. If it is more than 7 mm, so splint them together to decrease the risk of complication. Most common overdenture attachments where have the maximum range of motion 6, A6 is independent O-ring and the locator. Locator is a low profile attachment, and O-ring it is the most favored because it has a metal encapsulator, the range of motion, difference, retention is possible. It's very easy to manipulate. It can be, the O-rings can be replaced by the patient, and because the male component is in the mouth, so it's the patient is, the oral hygiene measures are better. But if the same O-ring, the movement in the O-ring is till 6, that is occlusal, gingival, mesial, distal, buccal, lingual. But if we place it around an arch in different axes of rotation, then the prosthesis may behave with a movement 0. It becomes a rigid prosthesis. Whereas if it is placed on a small bar, which is perpendicular to the midline, the two attachment at the same occlusal height, then the range of motion can vary from 2 to 6. So depending upon where the attachment is placed, the same prosthesis, the prosthesis movement can vary. If you place a header bar, which is a class 2 attachment, then 2 implants, this will behave as a rigid, the movement is not allowed, so it behaves as a rigid PM0. So chances of biomechanical failure are there. It's better to use it for RP4 with 0, where it behaves as a rigid prosthesis because it is properly supported by the implants in there. Hidden cantilever. This is again a very, very important factor because what is hidden cantilever? The portion of the removable prosthesis that extends beyond the last implant or the bar. Suppose a force is applied on the second molar. So what happens? The cantilever is not only extending till here, but till the second molar. And in this case, if there is no movement, attachment will not be here, but the force will be exerted on the bone and the abutment screw. It can lead to marginal bone loss and implant failure, as is evident in this last apartment. So we can, in order to decrease the length of this cantilever, or there should be some movement so that when the posterior forces are applied, it moves down and then clearly it moves up. we can miss second molar so as to reduce the length of the cantilever. Like this situation, 4 header bar and clip at different axes of rotation are placed, and there is a distal cantilever of 10 mm is there, but because of the different axes of the rotation, this will not have any type of movement, and any posterior forces will be extended from the second molar, so this will increase the length of the cantilever and will magnify the forces. Now coming to the attachments, so many types of attachments with ball, stud, tissue bar, bar and clip, telescoping. So one, they should be simple to use and easily replaced by the patient. And number of factors are there. We should be able to control the degree of retention. Some are customized, some are prefabricated. And these are the criteria which will help us to determine which type of attachment to use in which patient. Individual attachments, O-ring, it is a metal encapsulator, resilient ring, and a nail post, locators, low profile, different heights are available. Extracorporeal resilient attachment, where it is a vertical movement and a hinge movement as well. But wherever you are using individual attachment, it's very important that whatever, it should not alter the denture contour, and a proper thickness of 2-3 mm of fabric should always be there, and the position of the teeth also should not be affected. Ball type attachment, the main advantage, it permits a very good pure rotation. But for this, the implants must be parallel to each other, and there is a constant insertion and removal which can lead to attachment fatigue. A negative point is it is higher profile, it requires more distance. So the height is required, which may predispose to acrylic fracture, or the teeth positioning may be affected. And though the initial cost is less, it requires more maintenance. O-ring, mostly this is the processing ring encapsulator, and the dimension that is important is the internal diameter. As it is seen here, below the head, there is undercut or groove, and this internal diameter should be less so that it is stretched when it goes over the head, but the stretching should be just 1 to 2% and should not exceed beyond 5%. And a blunt instrument need to be used so as to avoid any type of installation damage. And we can, depending upon the dimension of the post, the size of the ring is accepted. Different hardness are available, but the color coding is not related to hardness. Nowadays, it may be coded just for aesthetic reason. And whatever instructions are there by the manufacturer, depending upon the material of the ring, the lubrication of the ring is required. Tissue bars. These advantages, we are able to accommodate divergent implants. Their initial cost is high and they have a complex prosthodontic procedure, but they give very good support anteriorly. So if we compare the individual attachment with bar and clip and ball, then bar and clip, because of the splinting, the implant overload is less. If their implants are not parallel, that is a very good option. And there is a good anterior support by the bar extension when a patient has a tapered arch form. Other individual attachments, locator and extracorporeal resilient, they are more retentive, but they do not permit pure rotation. O-ring is the only one which gives you pure rotation. And if we want to know whether we should do the rubber, plastic matrix or metal, though it may be more stable, but this is going to, the plastic rubber matrix causes less wear of the matrix, and that is the reason the matrix it does not wear, so the movement remains the same, the retention value may not decrease. Locator, because of the attachment fatigue, it does not permit full rotation, pure rotation. So after a period of time, there is significant decrease in the retention, especially if the implants are divergent or not parallel. There is going to be excessive wear by the constant insertion and the removal. And if a patient has a poor support, the bone polish is not optimum, then the risk of implant overload is there. This is especially so when there is unilateral forces applied on the one side of the posterior arch form, then the forces are applied to that side of the locator abutment, and this can result in lateral talking amount of forces, which can damage the attachment. The best way to place the two parallel implants for ball type of attachment, use a surgical guide. Duplicate the denture And then because if the two implants are parallel to each other, that is the best, is the whatever properties are there, you can utilize them in your implant supported prosthesis. But the negative point, you need to take care of the interocclusal space, especially as we go posteriorly, because it's closer to the hinge of TMJ, the space decreases. And O-ring, it is of the ball type, it is a high profile attachment, so we can predispose the resin acrylic teeth to the fracture, or the teeth may come off. So you can pre-mount and check the amount of space available. Let's see, I'm not endorsing any company here. Sorry. Just wait. Actually, there was a waiter there. Just a small procedure, because so many students are there. When you're using ball attachment, because of lack of time, it was difficult to tell all the steps. Is the sound audible?
No sound, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, let's wait. Now let's come to discuss certain complications which occur with the individual implants. Locator implants, because they do not permit pure rotation, see the shiny surface, anterior to posterior occlusal force are applied, so a wear is taking place, and as the wear takes place, the retention is going to decrease, and this will occur more if the implants are not parallel, because if they are not parallel, one implant the attachment will become as a dominant fulcrum, and more of the attachment here is going to stay. And it is more so because the matrix is a hard plastic Delrin practice. For O-ring, number of things we have to take care before they can function properly. Extrusion enabling, because of the small bites taken from the internal diameter of the O-ring, because of forced extension of the part of O-ring into clearance gap. It happens when O-ring material is soft, it degrades the O-ring. So use a proper sized O-ring material and harder O-ring material. Spiral failure, series of deep spiral cuts on the surface because of uneven finish of the post, inadequate lubrication, or the excessive softness of the O-ring material. Evaluate the post that it is not out of round, increase O-ring hardness, and make sure the patient uses a proper lubricant. The nitrile and fluorocarbon type of O-ring, they are suitable with the petroleum-based jelly, whether the silicones and ethylene propylene. They need water-based with the glycerin content in it. Abrasion, it is more seen in the dynamic ring where some Brazilian movement is there in the attachment. Flattened bone surface on the inner. For this, finish the metal properly. Use the more abrasion-resistant O-ring. Eliminate abrasive contamination which may be found in the diet, like a person has a habit of chewing tobacco. So this is going to be abrasive for the O-ring material. Compression, evident by flat surface on both sides of the cross-section. It's because patient having a parafunctional clenching habit or excessive squeezing or biting of the prosthesis to seed into restoration. So ensure that the prosthesis is removed at night and use the O-ring hardness which reduces the compression required to insert the prosthesis. Installation damage marked by shortcuts, notches, and this may be again because of the sharp edges on the encapsulator, improper size of the O-ring, twisting or pinching of O-ring using a sharp instrument. How to avoid it? A proper sized O-ring need to be installed, use a blunted instrument, and the proper lubrication during assembly of the this resilient ring. Other type of complication, attachment fatigue, and this is more so when a metal matrix is there, and because of this, after a certain period of time, retention values are going to decrease. This may be one of the reasons the failure is there, because once it starts, the number of sequelae of events can occur, ultimately leading to failure of the prosthesis. Poor oral hygiene and food impaction. Implant-supported overdenture, they have more food impaction. Why? Because we know here also that denture extensions are border molded, but when the muscle is at rest, so the food goes inside. But the movement of implant-supported overdenture is less than the conventional denture, so the food just stays there. So this is going to predispose to periimplantitis, will accelerate the wear of abutment and the attachment. Tissue irritation and hypertrophy is secondary to poor oral hygiene. It's wearing the denture at night and acrylic resin in contact to peri-implant mucosa. A study done in 2010 shows that if you do immediate loading, then there's implant loss rate within first year by 20%. But if a conventional loading is done, the success rate may be as close to 100%. So if individual attachment is giving a trouble, so use a locator attachment. In many situations, if number of implants you can place more with a milled tissue bar, because they are low profile, give good retention. And because here the number of implant is more, the movement in the prosthesis is less. And it is a low profile, which will permit proper positioning of the teeth. Sometimes we are unable to place the implants either parallel at the same height. So what will happen? We are unable to properly position the denture teeth without cleaning the resin, or the resin will be fracturing or show crazing. The best solution is use a tissue bar, which can be tapered anteriorly to accommodate the denture teeth. A patient having a tapered arch form. So when the two implants are placed, they are placed too anteriorly, and they cause anterior-posterior rocking of the denture because of less anterior support. So a tissue bar with the anterior cantilever can be used, though biomechanically speaking, this is not the very ideal situation. But unfortunately, anterior forces are 1/4 to 1/5 of the posterior forces. So it's a good alternative rather than so as to give a good support to your prosthesis. Tissue bar, we all know bar, header bar and clip. So denture should freely rotate, and the purpose of this clip is it allows rotation to compensate for the resilience of the posterior tissue, and an apron is also there which acts as a stiffener to decrease the flexure, because this header bar, it shows flexure depending upon the length of the bar. To decrease that, apron is given and the clip is there so that the rotation is there. It shows the hinge, it is a class 2 attachment. The hinge movement will be there if it is perpendicular to the axis of rotation, but we usually place it parallel to the axis, so the movement is less. It only around 20 degrees. Mostly it is placed in canine or canine premolar, and no cantilever is given, and this will allow it to be retentive, stable by the anterior implants. Good support is given anteriorly, and posteriorly again loading is done on the tissues. If you want to use this tissue bar but the implants are placed too posteriorly and an excessive cantilever is given, it is going to reduce in screw fractures and implant fracture, and the biomechanical failure is going to be done. So place the implants wide enough to accept two header clips at least 20 millimeter apart. They should exit through the crest of the ridge, minimize the anterior cantilever to fit the tissue bar. If the implants are too close, what you can do, a slightly wider head segment to better the denture stability, but the situation is not ideal and the retention is also going to be suboptimal. Oral hygiene is very, very pertinent because here we see the peri-implant tissue is all showing hypertrophy, poor hygiene, but the space is there beneath the bar, so here the tissue is rather healthy. If the space is not adequate, then all over the tissue around the implant and beneath the bar is going to show irritation and the hypertrophy. Long-term use of these bars, even wear is seen maybe after 15, 20 years, so that have to be replaced and taken care of. Sometimes to remove retention, in addition to the header bar, extracolon resilient attachments are used, especially in the cases where there are compromised implant sites. We want to load the posterior tissues, like a patient who has undergone radiotherapy post cancer treatment, but regular follow-up is again required. Otherwise, the cantilever forces can lead to mechanical failure. If the acrylic resin is thin or a very high profile attachment you have used, it can cause cracking, fracture of the denture base. So if this is anticipated, use a metal substructure to reinforce the denture. Excessive wear of teeth, implants supported over denture teeth wear more rapidly because occlusion forces are more here as compared to conventional denture. So every 5-7 years, they may have to replace again, or just for theoretical purpose, I have put gold occlusion, though it's very high cost and technically very challenging. Even in header extracorneal retentive attachment combination, because the functional load may exceed the lower body capacity, implant fracture can be seen, but the incidence of fracture is very, very less if we see the different types of complications. So how to design the bar? One, denture should freely rotate around the bar. The bar should be parallel to the plane of occlusion, perpendicular to midline, or aligned by setting angle between the posterior arches. There should be ample space beneath the bar to provide the hygiene access, and the bar should not alter the denture contour or displace the teeth. When you are doing denture insertion, ensure that the denture rotates properly. The acrylic resin should not limit the rotation. This is very, very important because when the posterior loading is done, there should be movement of the denture posteriorly towards the tissue and anteriorly lifting. Connect the tissue bar to the implant and two-stage tying procedure, one at the time of denture insertion and 1 to 2 week later need to be done. And a constant follow-up is required. Important instruction, leave the dentures at night, good tissue hygiene, and follow-up of the denture. Clips need to be changed, denture will wear out, tissue will wear out. So a proper maintenance protocol is the key for the long-term success when we are using tissue bar. Just a word about magnets. Nowadays, the present magnets, samarium, neodymium, they do good retention, eliminate corrosion. Hygiene is also simple, but many long-term studies are not available. They are good for divergent implants, but we need to have validation by the long-term studies to be routinely used with this option. Now, all of these attachments, they have in vitro studies have shown that a lot of wear-related changes take place, which lead to loss of reduction. So there is another attachment concept, Syncone. This is though it is specific to ankylose. It's a conical friction lock connection between implant and abutment, which gives a very good seal. And the geometry of the cone and high rotational stability allows the angulated abutment to be aligned. And we can do it with an immediate protocol or a delayed protocol, and it gives a good stability, and the relining or the pressure atrophy is also not seen. So now let's check about the options, which initially I had said. So mostly try to obtain the stability from the anterior region. Why? If we use posterior for that, anterior posterior movement is going to be more. Rocking would be there, torque will be there to the abutments. Moreover, when posterior loading is there, usually the teeth are present over the crest or slightly in the buccal shelf area. But anteriorly, the teeth are labially towards the vestibule and not over the bone. So that is one reason prosthesis movement will be more limited if they are going to give the anterior support from the bone. And the bone volume and density is also being favorable. So we divide into 5 zones, starting from the patient's right side, A, B, C, and D, between the mental foramen. And before you start a treatment, map all the 5 sites. It's not that we will do and later on decide. What is the advantage? One, if you are not satisfied with 2 implants supported and the patient can afford, later on we can add a 3rd implant, 4th implant. Then if any complication is there, we do not have to have a waiting period till that side we give a graft and it heals. We can just go for add implant in the other side and continue. Crown height space, very, very important because over dentures, they require more space than the fixed restoration. One, because denture teeth should not lose their retentive form. The resin requires strength, implant abutments at least 2 mm above the tissue. Then the connecting bar copings for attachment 3 to 7 mm of height. If you're using a bar, 1 millimeter of space for the hygiene. So if this space, like here from the occlusal plane till the bone is 5 mm or even less, then chances of implant over denture fracture is they will increase. So whether the bar is should be screw retained or cement retained. Screw retained is the low, less distance is required, at least 12 mm. This will reduce the crown height requirement and we could have additional acrylic resin strength. But cement retained has its own advantage, passive substructure, reduced cost and easier technique. But for the cement retained, the abutment need to be 5 mm in height or more. Another reason when we have cement retained bars, constant insertion and removal of the prosthesis will cause tensile forces on the cement. Cement seal can break. So reduce the cantilever. So the key to cement retained is one, proper height of the abutments, and second, use stronger cement and also decrease the cantilever. Just will run through all the options. OD1, so B and D, independent implants are given. The movement should be there posteriorly so as to load the posterior tissue. It is going to take the posterior to support. Don't use A and E. This is the reason because it's distal to the incisal edges of the anterior. More anterior posterior rocking, but tipping will take place if A and E reasons are taken. Then place the implants at the same occlusal height, parallel to the occlusal plane, equal distance from the midline, and parallel to each other. Path of insertion of the prosthesis should be similar to the path of insertion of the attachment. If this is not followed, it's going to be unstable. Attachments are going to be a loosening of O-ring is there. OD2, so use B and D position and connect them with the bar. Do not, why E and E is not used? Because the flexure, as the length increases, the flexure will improve. Like header bar is a round bar, it can flex to a power of 4 and the screw loosening risk is more. If you want to use A and E, you will have to place a third implant in the C position. Now, when we are using with the bar, the implants may not be in the ideal position. One is distal slightly, but the positioning of the attachment is very important. If they are parallel at the same occlusal height, then no biomechanical, the risk decreases. Similarly, with the header bar, it needs to be, if they are connecting the two implants, they are perpendicular to the midline, parallel to the occlusal plane. And another thing is free rotation should be possible. The above figure, this should not be there. See, the receptor side is not properly made and the denture is resting on the side of the bar. So this will not permit the movement for why we are giving the header bar and clip. OD3, A, C and E position. Here's another option is there 3B for the posterior ridge form. See, the third.
We are running a bit late. Can you conclude, please?
So that anterior posterior stability is improved. Do not use any cantilever in OD3 option, though the attachment may be placed distal to A and E. Header clips not to be used because they will make it too rigid. We have only 3 implants. If the rotation is not at all there, it is making different axes of rotation, then more of the problems are going to be occur. Use the oval attachment, which will help to improve the rotation and the stability. OD4, A, B, D, and E, you can use a distal cantilever up to 10 mm in the position. And here, this is a very good option. If a implant-supported fixed prosthesis cannot be given, suppose, then because the AP spread is less or the implant sites are compromised, use this OD4 option with a header bar and a resilient attachment also can be used with it. So like a tissued bar with header and ERA type of attachments. OD5A, all 5 positions use a barbell splint together and the length of cantilever depends upon anterior-posterior distance. A tapered arch form will give you the largest anterior-posterior spread of 8 mm. Now, if you want to go for 4 or 5 implants, at least minimum is 4. So this will give you a very good support and stability, but 1 centimeter of AP spread is a must. Then the tissue part should have adequate bulk, excess hygiene should be there. Use a header bar which is low profile, but if the interocclusion space is less, you may have to reinforce your prosthesis with the method. Now coming to sometimes the forces are more, especially if all these options were discussed for division A or B. If the crown height space is more, or there's an increase in crown to implant ratio or decrease in implant surface area, or the patient's form factor are greater like parafunction, masticatory dynamics, opposing arch form, or arch form is
we are exceeding.
Reduced AP
Sorry
spread,
to interrupt
then
you.
we need to,
Neeta madam,
the option changes, eliminate
please
only one.
conclude. Please conclude because it's already 50 minutes has crossed, ma'am.
And we can add one more implant to all the occlusion, bilateral balanced occlusion, because this will decrease the movement. And sometimes, depending upon the clinical scenario, we can use even non-anatomic keep the balancing ramp, but minimize the cantilever. Centric occlusion for that should be centralized. Now let's talk about something in the last. What does the evidence say about all this, which will help us in making a decision which type of attachment to use and what is the literary evidence for that. 2014, Carlson said no strong evidence for the superiority of one overdenture system over another regarding patient satisfaction or bone loss or relevant clinical factors. A recent systematic review, EGIPS 2020, says that ball and locator attachment perform excellently in terms of survival rate, tissue response, and patient satisfaction. And patient compliance is higher for ball, locator, and bar. Magnetic attachment produce high bone resorption and displace under functional force. Two splint or not two splint. So no significant difference between two different designs with respect to soft tissue health, patient satisfaction, but bar supported overdentures need less prosthetic maintenance. Loading protocol, survival rate, success, marginal bone loss similar for immediate early conventional, probing depth, block index less for conventional. And this is a very latest 2021 systematic review and meta-analysis. Coming to prosthodontic complication, this is a systematic review and in which all the studies were randomized controlled trial and prospective studies with a follow-up period of at least 5 years. And it says implant survival does not vary by splinting, rotational characteristic or number of implants, and it varies from 93% to 100% at 10 years. And there can be clinical, biological, and technical. Just is going to Dr. Gaurav.
Yes, madam, please conclude because.
Yeah, just is going to end here.
Please conclude. Just 1 minute, ma'am.
This is because I was on this last part. So this is the suggested follow-up protocol. Check the occlusion, minimize the cantilever length, control the prosthetic components according to manufacturer guidelines. Relining procedure may be within first 5 years, regular checkup, and a new denture fabrication. And this review says if a remake within a decade, it should not be considered as failure. Single implant overdenture, again, a good successful economic treatment protocol, but long-term studies are required to validate the treatment plan. And this is the comparison which is shown, but if the even two implant overdenture is not possible, it's good to have even a single implant retained denture. The survival rate, it does not, the post-loading is not significantly different of a single implant than the two implant overdenture. Mini implants are a very good option, but you have to use a minimum of 4 in the mandible, and where standard treatment is not possible. How do patients perceive? The ITI consensus says that patient, if for maintaining oral hygiene, they prefer the removable, that is the implant supported over denture. To conclude, continued bone loss after tooth loss compromises aesthetics, function, and health. So we need to educate the patient about the bone loss, inform them that the dental implants help to maintain bone volume, but long-term, well-designed studies still, all the systematic reviews, they say the long-term studies are required to validate all the results. Overwhelming evidence that the dentures are superior. So if a patient has adaptation difficulties or some anatomical limitation, so it should be the first option. Bone preserving effect of implant supported prosthesis should be included in decision making. You should need to understand the expected prosthetic complication so that the clinician can apprehend the risk and burden. Appropriate design and strict maintenance protocol are necessary for the long-term success of implant and the prosthesis. Heartfelt gratitude to Indian Prosthodontic Society, JIPS. I would like to thank the audience for the patient hearing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Actually,
Dr.
we are
Nita.
running short of, yeah.
It was quite an elaborate presentation. It was very difficult to concise in 40 minutes, very true. It's a topic for a full day, but you have very nicely concised within 40 minutes. Fantastic.
Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits, because even the word says, I am possible.
Yeah.
For all the
Definitely.
PT
I
students, aim for the
hope
start.
everybody's
Do not
got
change your
the
goal.
benefits of.
And thank you so much. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.